It's 2 a.m. Your eyes are burning, your alarm is set for 6. You've been telling yourself just one more video for the past 2 hours. Your body is screaming for sleep. Your brain knows you're gonna hate yourself tomorrow, and yet your thumb keeps scrolling. Swipe, tap, scroll, swipe, tap, scroll. You're not even enjoying it anymore. Half the videos don't register. You're not learning anything, you're not entertained, you're just stuck. And here's the thing that's going to blow your mind. This isn't a you problem. This isn't about lacking discipline or being lazy or having no self-control. What's happening to you right now, in this very moment, is the result of billion-dollar companies literally hacking your brain chemistry. And your exhausted, late-night brain doesn't stand a chance. But here's what nobody's telling you. The reason you can't stop scrolling before bed has almost nothing to do with your phone and everything to do with what you're running from. Today, I'm going to show you the real psychology behind why you scroll when you should sleep, and more importantly, I'm going to show you what your bedtime scrolling is actually trying to tell you about your life. Because once you understand what's really happening, everything changes. Let's start with something that's going to make you uncomfortable. You're not scrolling because you want to. You're scrolling because you're afraid to stop. And I know that sounds dramatic, but stay with me. There's this thing in psychology called revenge bedtime procrastination, and it perfectly explains what's happening to you. Here's how it works. All day long, you don't belong to yourself. You belong to your job, your responsibilities, your emails, your boss, your family, everyone who needs something from you. You wake up to an alarm you didn't want to set. You go to a job that drains you. You answer messages you don't want to answer. You do things you have to do, not things you want to do. And by the time night comes, you're finally alone, finally free, finally yours. And your brain says, no way, we're not giving up this time. This is our time. So even though you're exhausted, even though you know you need sleep, you stay up scrolling because it's the only moment in your entire day where nobody's telling you what to do. It's rebellion. It's reclaiming your autonomy. It's saying, I might not control my day, but I control my night. Except you don't actually control it, do you? Because you're not choosing to scroll, you're choosing not to sleep. And there's a massive difference. You're not enjoying your freedom, you're just delaying your surrender to tomorrow. You're not taking your time back, you're just stealing it from your future self. Now let me explain what's happening in your brain on a chemical level, because this is where it gets really scary. Every time you scroll and see something mildly interesting, your brain releases a tiny hit of dopamine. Not a lot, just enough to keep you wanting more. It's called variable ratio reinforcement, and it's the same mechanism that makes slot machines so addictive. You don't know when the next interesting video is coming, so your brain says, keep scrolling, it might be the next one. And here's the evil genius of it. The algorithm knows exactly when you're about to quit. It knows when you're getting bored. So right when you're about to close the app, boom, it shows you something perfectly tailored to grab you. Something outrageous, something relatable, something that makes you feel something. And you think, okay, just one more. But there's always one more, because the algorithm isn't designed to satisfy you. It's designed to keep you hungry. It's designed to give you just enough dopamine to keep chasing, but never enough to feel full. And late at night, when you're tired, when your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain responsible for decision-making and self-control, is essentially offline, you have zero defense against this. Your willpower is depleted, your rational brain has clocked out, and the algorithm is running the show, feeding you an endless stream of perfectly engineered content designed to exploit your reward system. You're not weak, you're being systematically manipulated by some of the smartest behavioral psychologists and engineers in the world. But here's what's really happening beneath all of this, and this is the part that's going to hit different. You're not just scrolling to relax or unwind, you're scrolling to avoid. You're avoiding the silence, you're avoiding your thoughts, you're avoiding the anxiety that creeps in the moment you're alone with yourself. Because here's the truth. The second you put that phone down, reality rushes in. The thoughts you've been outrunning all day finally catch up. The worries about tomorrow, the regrets about today, the existential questions you don't have answers to, the loneliness you feel even when you're surrounded by people, the disappointment in where you are versus where you thought you'd be, the fear that you're wasting your life. the guilt about all the things you should be doing but aren't. Your phone is a noise machine, drowning out the sound of your own mind. And as long as you're scrolling, you don't have to face any of it. You don't have to sit with the uncomfortable truth that maybe you're not happy, maybe you're not fulfilled, maybe you're sleepwalking through your own life. The scroll is a numbing agent, it's emotional anesthesia, and you've become dependent on it, not because you're addicted to content, but because you're terrified of the silence. You're terrified of what you might feel or realize or have to admit to yourself if you actually stopped and listened. There's also something happening with your relationship to tomorrow, and this is darker than most people want to admit. Every night you stay up scrolling, you're engaging in a form of self-sabotage. Part of you knows that staying up late means tomorrow is going to suck. You'll be tired, irritable, unfocused, less productive, and on some level, you want that. Not consciously, but subconsciously, there's a part of you that doesn't want to show up fully for tomorrow. Maybe it's because you hate your job, and being tired gives you an excuse to underperform. Maybe it's because you're scared of actually trying and failing, so you ensure failure by showing up exhausted. Maybe it's because if you're always tired, you never have to face the question of what you could actually accomplish if you were operating at full capacity. It's a protection mechanism. If you never give yourself a fair shot, you never have to confront your real potential or your real limitations. You can always blame the tiredness. You can always say, I would do better if I just slept more. But you never sleep more, because sleeping more would mean showing up rested, and showing up rested would mean you're out of excuses. And excuses are comfortable. Excuses are safe. Excuses mean you never have to face the terrifying possibility that maybe you're capable of more than you're doing, or worse, that you're not. So you keep scrolling, keep staying up late, keep sabotaging tomorrow, and keep telling yourself you'll do better next time, knowing full well you won't. Let's talk about something called decision fatigue, because this is secretly running your entire night. By the time you get into bed, you've made thousands of decisions throughout the day. What to wear, what to eat, what to say, what to work on, how to respond to that email, whether to go to the gym, what to make for dinner. Every single tiny choice depletes your mental energy. And by nighttime, you're running on empty. You have no decision-making power left. So when you pick up your phone, you're not making an active choice to scroll. You're making the easiest, lowest effort choice available. Scrolling requires zero decisions. The algorithm decides what you watch. Autoplay decides what comes next. You're completely passive. And in your depleted state, that passivity feels like relief. It's not rest, it's numbing. Real rest would be sleep. Real rest would be putting the phone down and letting your brain actually recover. But sleep requires one final decision, the decision to stop, and you don't have the energy for that decision. So you stay in this passive state, letting the app make all your choices for you, convincing yourself you're relaxing, when really you're just avoiding the one choice that would actually help you. And the sickest part is, the apps know this. They know you're at your weakest at night. They know your willpower is shot. They know you're decision fatigued, and they exploit it ruthlessly. The autoplay isn't for your convenience, it's to remove the decision to stop. The just one more is engineered into the experience because they know you don't have the strength to choose otherwise. You're being hunted by algorithms at your most vulnerable moment, and you don't even realize you're prey. Here's something most people don't realize. Your late-night scrolling is actually a form of dissociation. Dissociation is when your mind disconnects from the present moment as a coping mechanism, and it usually happens when reality feels too overwhelming to face. And that's exactly what's happening when you scroll for hours. You're not present. You're not even really watching. You're in this zombie-like state where information is flowing past you, but nothing's really landing. It's like your consciousness has left the building and left your thumb in charge. And this happens because your day has been so demanding, so draining, so full of other people's needs and expectations that by nighttime, your brain literally needs to check out. It needs to go somewhere else, anywhere else. And scrolling provides that escape hatch. It's not that the content is so compelling, it's that the act of scrolling creates this hypnotic, trance-like state where you don't have to be fully human for a while. You don't have to think, feel, process, or deal with anything. You just exist in this passive, vegetative state. And your brain craves that disconnection because being fully present in your life has become too exhausting. But here's the trap. Dissociation doesn't actually restore you. It doesn't recharge your battery. It just delays the crash. You're not processing your emotions. You're suppressing them. You're not resting your mind. You're just distracting it. And when you finally do fall asleep, you're not sleeping from a place of peace. You're collapsing from exhaustion with a backlog of unprocessed emotions and experiences that will be waiting for you tomorrow. Let's get brutally honest about something. You're also scrolling because you're lonely. And I don't mean you don't have people in your life. You can be surrounded by people and still feel completely alone. I mean you're lonely in the existential sense. You're disconnected from yourself, from real connection, from meaning. And late at night, that loneliness becomes unbearable. So you scroll through other people's lives, other people's stories, other people's content, desperately searching for some sense of connection or belonging. You watch strangers on the internet and feel like you know them. You read comments and feel like you're part of a community. You engage with content that makes you feel seen, understood, less alone. But it's a counterfeit connection. It's parasocial. It's one-sided. You're consuming connection, not creating it. And the more you consume, the hungrier you get, because it never actually fills the void. Real connection requires vulnerability. It requires showing up as yourself. It requires risk and effort and the possibility of rejection. But scrolling is safe. You can feel connected without actually being known. You can feel part of something without actually participating. You can observe intimacy without having to create it. And your brain accepts this substitute because the real thing feels too hard, too scary, too uncertain. So you settle for the illusion of connection, scrolling through a feed of people you don't know, watching lives you're not part of, feeling simultaneously connected to everything and disconnected from everyone, including yourself. There's also this thing happening with your sense of time, and it's more sinister than you think. When you scroll before bed, time distorts. What feels like 15 minutes is actually 2 hours. You enter this timeless void where past, present, and future all blur together. And your brain actually seeks this out because linear time, with its deadlines and consequences and forward momentum, is stressful. When you scroll, you're not moving toward anything. You're not building toward anything. You're just existing in this eternal present moment where nothing matters and nothing changes. It's a form of temporal escape. But here's what's really happening. You're literally watching your life disappear. Every hour you spend scrolling is an hour you'll never get back. And the cruelest part is that you know this. In real time, as you're doing it, you know you're wasting time. You can feel your life slipping away. But you keep scrolling anyway because the alternative, actually using your time intentionally, actually building something, actually working toward a goal, requires you to confront how much time you've already wasted. It requires you to admit that you're not where you want to be and that you're partially responsible for that. So instead, you stay in the timeless scroll, where yesterday, today, and tomorrow all feel the same, where nothing is expected of you, where you don't have to face the finite nature of your existence and the responsibility of making something meaningful with it. You're choosing comfortable numbness over uncomfortable growth. And every night you make that choice, you wake up a little more disconnected from the person you actually want to be. Now, let's talk about something even darker. Digital self-harm. This is when you deliberately consume content that makes you feel bad about yourself. And late-night scrolling is prime time for this. Because when you're tired and your defenses are down, you don't have the emotional resilience to protect yourself from comparison. So you scroll through perfectly curated lives, highlight reels, people who seem to have it all figured out, bodies better than yours, relationships better than yours, careers better than yours, lives better than yours. And every post is a tiny cut. Every comparison is a little dose of poison. They're younger and more successful. They're happier than me. They have what I want. I'm falling behind. And you know it's making you feel worse. You can feel your mood dropping, your self-esteem crumbling, your anxiety rising, but you can't stop. Because on some twisted level, this pain feels deserved. This criticism feels true. You're confirming all your worst beliefs about yourself, that you're not good enough, that you're failing, that everyone else has it together except you. It's like picking at a wound. It hurts, but there's something compulsive about it, something that feels like honesty, like you're finally facing the truth about how inadequate you are. Except it's not the truth. It's a distorted funhouse mirror version of reality. You're comparing your behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. You're measuring your worth against curated fiction, but your tired brain can't see that. So you keep scrolling, keep consuming, keep poisoning yourself with comparison, and then you wonder why you wake up feeling hollow and anxious and like you're losing at life. Here's what nobody tells you about late-night scrolling. It's stealing your dreams. And I don't just mean your sleep dreams, though it's doing that too. The blue light from your screen suppresses melatonin production, disrupts your circadian rhythm, and prevents you from getting deep, restorative sleep. But I'm talking about your actual dreams, your goals, your ambitions, the life you say you want to build. Because every night you spend scrolling is a night you're not spending on yourself. You could be reading that book, learning that skill, working on that project, creating that art, building that relationship, but instead, you're consuming other people's content, other people's dreams, other people's lives. You're a spectator in your own existence. And the tragedy is that you know this. You go to bed feeling guilty. You wake up feeling regretful. You promise yourself tonight will be different, but it never is. Because changing requires more than intention. It requires dealing with the boredom, the loneliness, the anxiety, the avoidance, all the uncomfortable things the scroll is protecting you from. And as long as you're using your phone as a shield against your own life, you'll never have the energy, the clarity, or the time to actually build the life you want. Your dreams are dying one scroll at a time, and you're the one holding the weapon. The question is, how many more nights are you going to choose the comfort of distraction over the discomfort of growth? So, here we are. It's late. You're tired, and you're probably watching this video on your phone right now when you should be sleeping. And I want you to understand something. This moment, right here, is a choice point. You can close this app and do exactly what you've always done. Scroll a little more. Tell yourself just 5 more minutes. Fall into the same pattern. Wake up exhausted and disappointed in yourself again. Or you can do something different. Not because you suddenly have willpower or discipline, but because you finally understand what you're really doing. You're not just scrolling, you're running, you're avoiding, you're numbing, you're dissociating, you're escaping from a life that feels too demanding, too disappointing, or too overwhelming to face. And the scroll gives you that escape. But it doesn't give you rest, it doesn't give you peace, it doesn't give you the life you actually want. So what if just for tonight you put the phone down? Not forever, not as some grand declaration, just for tonight. What if you sat with the discomfort for just 5 minutes? What if you let yourself feel bored, lonely, anxious, whatever comes up, without immediately reaching for the distraction? What if you discover that you can survive those feelings, that they pass, that you're stronger than you think? Because here's the truth. Your life is happening now. Not tomorrow when you're more rested, not next week when you're more motivated. Now. And every moment you spend scrolling is a moment you're choosing to be absent from your own life. You deserve better than that. You deserve to show up for yourself. You deserve to rest. You deserve to dream, both literally and figuratively. And it starts with one choice, one night, one moment of choosing yourself over the algorithm. The phone will still be there tomorrow. The content will still be there tomorrow. But tonight, this moment, this version of you who's tired and searching and wanting something more, this is the only chance you get at right now. So what you going to be? Are you going to keep scrolling? Or are you going to finally rest?